Today we have three guests who are going to speak about their dachshunds. This is Trudy Kawami and her wire-haired Vina. Trudy is a breeder and is also very actively involved in dachshund rescue. And this is Patrick Lehman with his little dog Waldo. And Waldo is a black and tan smooth and a mini. A mini is supposed to be under 11 pounds. This is Nat Nevins with her dog Nikki, whom she rescued. He's a long-hair red dachshund and quite pretty. He's 13 years old and doesn't have any gray. And he's unfortunately going blind, but he still can function. What I'd like to start with is Dachshund. Dachs means badger and Hund is German for dog. When that name was brought to England, they thought Hund meant hound. So Dachshund, well, maybe Trudy knows more about this. Would you say the Dachshund is all hound or is it part terrier?
Well, the Dachshund is a curious combination of hound and terrier. And in the European classifications, it's its own dog group. Neither hound nor terrier, but both, with the persistence and the nose and the hunting instinct of the hound. But unlike hounds, they will go to earth. They go in holes in the ground. They like tight spaces. They like to ferret out.
Which is more of a characteristic of a terrier.
What terriers do.
Well, let me ask you, some people say the Dachshund goes back to ancient Egypt because of certain hieroglyphics. Now, it's probably a myth, but have you heard that?
Oh, yeah. And everybody wants their breed to be the oldest in the world. And, of course, Egypt is such a cool ancient place that people want it. But, in fact, Dachshunds hunt in holes in the ground, and the only thing living in holes in the ground in Egypt are poisonous scorpions and snakes. So that an earth dog, a dog that goes into holes in the ground to hunt, isn't logical for that environment. You know, it's really a European breed, but it's nice to pretend.
So when would you say the Dachshund was standardized?
It was standardized probably in the early 19th century, though our earliest clear depiction of what is clearly a dachshund and not just a short little doggy is a beautiful painting by the French animal painter Audrey, dated 1648, I believe. And it's still in Paris. He was the owner of the dog was the Swedish ambassador to the court of the French kings, and he loved his dog, who was a black and tan, and he had his picture painted.
Well, let me ask you, Nat, what do you think the main characteristics of a Dachshund are? Tell us some of the things that Nikki does that you feel exhibit the Dachshund personality.
He loves to eat.
Yes, that's true.
I once knew a Dachshund in Austin, Texas, when I was stationed in the service there in the Air Force, that ate a whole ham. And we had to take her to the hospital, and they tried to induce vomiting because she looked like the ham after a while. But they love to eat. They'll eat anything and everything, which can be always a little detrimental in New York City when they're picking up maybe rat poison or something like that. So you have to be very careful with not allowing them to do that. Another, he's very nosy. He's very curious. And I think that's something of the Dachshund breed, right, Trudy? They're very, they've got to see everything.
Yes, I found Dachshunds have to know what's going on.
Yeah, he came in your house and just ran all over.
Right. And often they pretend they don't know what's going on, but they really do.
Yeah.
You know, and then suddenly when it's to their advantage, they'll respond to that.
Their noses can sniff anything.
They're good urban dogs.
Yes.
They just love to meet the doorman, the sanitation man, the neighbors.
Patrick, have you found anything special about a Dachshund that stands out?
Well, they're very independent. That's why Waldo's walked across the room. And I think for city dwellers, the Dachshund has the spirit of a big dog in a small package. I think they have a great combination of kind of a certain canine nobility. They have a very sort of noble spirit. They're very bold. They're very they make themselves known. For security measures, you know, a dachshund behind a closed door sounds like a bigger dog than it actually is. And I also think they have a great sense of humor. You know, they mix a certain sort of bravado with an extreme neediness, which is very appealing to urban people who you know, frequently work long hours and live in small places. And it's, you know, it's great to come home and know that your dog is going to be the epitome of dogginess, and that they really want you around. They really think about you a lot. Waldo pays attention to everything that's being said and done in the room.
I found that they're extremely affectionate, more so than many other breeds of dogs. And I've often wondered what the origin of that is. Is it just that they desire to please us so much? And of course, our dachshund wants to sleep in bed with us, which we allow. Many people don't. They have them in crates at night. Of course, if you've got multiple dachshunds, you wouldn't have a space left for yourself in the bed. Could we speak for a while about the different types? Maybe explain the different coats? And,
sure.
And of course, there are a multiplicity of colors in dachshunds, I think more than any other breed. I'm not certain of that, but do you know about that, Trudy, whether they're...
Well, there certainly is a really wide gene pool. I mean, not only do we have this variation in sizes, but we have the variation in coats. And in colors, traditionally they have not had a lot of colors. They've been either red, like Nikki, we call red, which is a bright brown, or black and tan like Waldo. And then the wire hairs have this intermediate version, which Vina is, which we call wild boar.
Could you put Nikki on the hassock for a while so they could see what a long-haired dachshund looks like?
Okay.
Maybe
Shedding
describe...
a little, I'm sorry.
See,
he's very proud of his tail.
Yeah, and he has a lovely, yeah, he's got a lovely coat. Some long hairs you see almost look like walking fur bundles, and you don't want that. You want the nice, dense, smooth coat on the body,